As we achieve a historic transformation in Venezuela, we're also looking forward to the great change that will soon be coming to Cuba. Cuba's at the end of the line. They're very much at the end of the line. They have no money, they have no oil, they have a bad philosophy, they have a bad regime that's been bad for a long time. And they used to get the money from Venezuela, they get the oil from Venezuela, but they don't have any money from Venezuela, they don't have any oil, they don't have anything from, people can't even, they land in Cuba, they can't get gasoline to fly out, they have to leave their planes behind. And they want to negotiate, and they are negotiating with Marco and myself and some others. And I would think a deal would be made very easily with Cuba. But for 50 years I've been hearing, as a little boy, I'd be hearing about Cuba. You know, Cuba's a disaster. But I've been hearing so much about Cuba. But Cuba's in its last moments of life, as it was. It'll have a great new life, but it's in its last moments of life the way it is. And but our focus right now is on Iran, and we'll do that. I would say, what will you do? Take about 2 days off, Marco? No, he won't. Maybe an hour. He'll take 1 hour off, and then he'll finish up a deal on Cuba. That'll be an easy one. But it'll be the entire region that we're doing that. Many of you.
We've got to talk about Cuba, because there's been something interesting developing out of Cuba, as well as we got to talk about a character that we haven't seen in quite some time now. Greta. Yeah. Greta Thunberg or Thunberg. I don't know how to properly pronounce her last name, but she's back, ladies and gentlemen. She is back. And apparently, I guess we solved the what were they calling it? Because it's been called different things over the decades, right? Global. It was global warming. Now it's climate change. Climate change is what they've been calling it. Apparently, we've solved climate change, because she ain't talking about that right now. But we'll get into that later on. As you heard there at the very beginning of this video clip, Cuba seems next on the list. And if you were doubting it, Trump didn't mention Cuba once. He's mentioned it multiple times. There's another time where Trump brought up Cuba as well. Check it out.
Well, Cuba's doing very badly. They're failing. Cuba right now is, to put it mildly, a failing nation. And I've been hearing about Cuba. I said before, since I'm a little boy, I've been hearing about Cuba, and everybody wanted to change. And I can see that happening. Marco Rubio is dealing on it, and at a very high level. And, you know, they have no money, they have no oil, they have no food. And it's really right now a nation in deep trouble, and they want our help.
Yeah. And if we've learned anything about Uncle Trump, is that it's that what he says, he means. And what he means, he says. And so if he's talking about Cuba coming to the table, they're coming to the table. And if you were confused about what is actually going on in Cuba, here's a little video to get you up to speed a little bit on the whole Cuba situation. Check it out.
While you're still watching Iran, Trump has been executing a corporate buyout of Cuba. On January 3rd, the US captured Maduro and took control of Venezuela's oil exports. Cuba was getting 35,000 barrels a day from Venezuela, half its total supply. That went to zero overnight. January 29th, Trump signed an executive order threatening tariffs on any country that ships oil to Cuba. Not just oil tariffs, tariffs on everything. Mexico folded within 48 hours. Cuba received zero oil imports for the entire month of January. By March, 64% of the country is dark. 2,000 megawatt grid deficit. 20-hour blackouts. No jet fuel at 9 airports. Hospitals on emergency power. Trash piling up because the trucks are empty. The New York Times called it the first effective US blockade of Cuba since the missile crisis. No bombs, no troops, just sanctions architecture. So why now? Because China has 4 documented signals intelligence sites across Cuba, monitoring roughly 20 US military installations, including Cape Canaveral, MacDill Air Force Base, and Key West Naval Air Station. One of those sites can intercept signals from up to 8,000 nautical miles out. Congressional testimony confirmed these facilities are surveilling US training ranges that simulate Taiwan Strait operations. Russia has been embedding intelligence personnel inside Cuban civilian infrastructure projects and rotating operatives through naval port calls in Havana. And when the grid goes dark, these facilities lose power too. Russia pledged humanitarian oil shipments and sent a tanker. The US has already seized 6 Shadow Fleet vessels, including a Russian-flagged tanker in the Indian Ocean. The blockade isn't theoretical, it's being physically enforced. On February 25th, OFAC, the US Sanctions Office, issued guidance allowing companies to resell Venezuelan oil to Cuba's private sector. Not the government, not the military, exclusively private Cuban businesses. Funded in US dollars, routed through US banks, under full US oversight. The state gets nothing. The grid stays dead for the regime. But a new commercial class, one that only exists because America allows it, gets the fuel, gets the dollars, gets the lifeline. The US collapsed Cuba's energy supply, blinded rival intelligence operations, enforced the blockade with tanker seizures, and then opened a side door that only the private sector can walk through. A leveraged buyout disguised as a blockade. Bankrupt the existing management, fund a replacement class, deny the hemisphere to rivals, never fire a shot.
I love it. Sounds like a fantastic plan if I do say so myself. If I do say so myself, it sounds fantastic. And you know what else has happened recently? Now that all these developments are coming about, Cuba's running out of oil, total blackouts. Cuba confirms, here, let me throw myself on the screen. Cuba confirms negotiations with U.S. as country faces effects of oil blockade. Yeah. Cuban President Miguel, I don't know how to properly pronounce that. Cuban President Miguel has said that his government is in talks with the Trump administration to find solutions to the two countries' differences as the Caribbean country continues to face the effects of a U.S. oil blockade. Diaz said no fuel entered Cuba in 3 months. 3 months. Trump has said, hey, y'all not getting any oil to Cuba. None. You get nothing. So they've been without it for 3 months now. Very, very effective. Talks between the two nations were in their initial stages, said Diaz, who is leading the Cuban side of negotiations in a national broadcast on Friday. U.S. President Trump said on Monday that Cuba was in deep trouble as he threatened a friendly takeover. Cuba is experiencing several blackouts as the island struggles with fuel shortages, which have been made worse by pressure from the U.S. Yeah. There's also a clip of, here it is. Dictator of Cuba, Miguel, announces on national television that they have given in to the pressure and are officially in negotiations with the United States. The Cuban regime surrendered. Trump was right. The Cuban government recently held conversations with representatives of the U.S. government to seek through dialogue, a solution to existing bilateral differences that exist between our two nations.
Que en correspondencia con la política consistente que siempre ha presentado la Revolución Cubana, bajo la dirección del general de ejército como líder histórico de nuestra revolución y la mía, y colegiado con las principales instancias del partido, el gobierno y el Estado cubano, funcionarios cubanos sostuvieron recientemente conversaciones con representantes del gobierno de los Estados Unidos para buscar por la vía del diálogo la posible solución a las diferencias bilaterales que existen entre nuestras dos naciones.
Oh, man. Ain't it great to be an American? You gotta love it. You gotta love it, right? You got to love it. Not only did we conquer Venezuela, we're crushing Iran and their dictators. I think I saw their latest Ayatollah didn't have a great day. Okay. As a matter of fact, I think he's 6 foot under. Not only that, now we may be conquering Cuba, freeing the people of Cuba, making sure Cuba is great again. How could you hate the guy? How could you hate the guy? But now let's move on to Greta Thunberg, who is back once again, spewing her nonsense, of course. Check it out.
We need to talk about what's happening in Cuba right now. As the Trump administration is waging illegitimate wars across the world, killing countless of people, it is also strangling the Cuban people, deliberately, methodically, and openly. The pedophile Trump himself bragged about it, saying, "There's an embargo, there is no oil, there's no money, there's no anything." He said it like it was something to be proud of, while millions of people have been plunged into darkness by rolling blackouts, while hospitals lose power, while ambulances run out of fuel.
She's making it sound like Cuba was this fantastic oasis beforehand. You know, I think Trump's doing a fantastic job.
While shelves go empty. The United Nations has warned of imminent humanitarian crisis. Intensive care units and emergency rooms are compromised. Newborns, the elderly, the sick, all paying the price. This is not an accident or an unfortunate side effect of some policy disagreement. This is the intended outcome. Since 1962, the US embargo has been designed, in the words of the US State Department itself, to bring about hunger, desperation, and overthrow the government. Now the Trump administration is escalating it further, plotting what they themselves have called a takeover of the island. We cannot be silent about this. Cuba did not stay silent when the world needed it. For over 60 years, Cuba sent its doctors to all corners of the earth. Cuban medical workers fought Ebola in West Africa. They responded to disasters in Haiti. They trained generations of doctors from all over the world. When liberation movements were fighting for independence from colonial rule across Africa and much of the world was looking the other way, Cuba stood in solidarity, not just in words, but in action, with real material support. Cuba stood up for the world, and now it is time for the world to stand up for Cuba.
You know what I noticed about this video? I know it's completely random for most people. Most people don't pay attention to this kind of stuff, but I do. Because I see clips of people talking all day, every day, right? She's reading a script. She's not looking right at the camera. She's looking off to the side of the camera. You see that difference? Like, I'm not looking directly at the camera. I'm looking just next to it. Now I'm looking at the camera, right? I'm looking directly at you now. Now I'm looking next to it. You see the difference? Looking at you, looking next to it. At you, next to it. She's looking next to the camera. She's reading a script. And if you have to read a script, bro, first off, your argument is null and void. I don't buy it. I don't buy it, because if you genuinely cared, you would just speak from the heart. You just shoot from the hip, right? And I find it funny how all of these leftists all of a sudden care about the lives and countries of dictators. Some of these same folks who would support someone like Greta Thunberg were literally just marching in the streets screaming "No kings." Like, come on, man. Come on, man. This is allegedly a video from Cuba right here. From this year. I mean, look at this. Wow. If this is a genuine video, this is crazy.
Wow. All right. I don't think I should be walking under here.
I don't either.
Okay.
Like, look at this.
Wow.
Look at this. Look at that. What is going on here? I think what Trump is doing is absolutely fantastic. He's forcing a dictator to come to the table. Right? Forcing him to come to the table because apparently what he's been doing to his own country ain't been that great. Same thing with the Venezuelan dictator, Maduro. Oh my goodness, you had a bunch of the liberals crying and complaining when the people of Venezuela were out in the streets celebrating. Same exact thing with Iran. Iranians were out in the streets celebrating. Meanwhile, you have the bunch of leftists. Oh, the dictator of Iran is gone. I thought you hated dictators. Leftist, right? Anyway, all in all, Uncle Trump says what he means what he says. Doing a fantastic job, if I do say so myself. But y'all let me know your opinions on it in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button before you go. All right? Peace and love. I'm out.